All right, back to transits. So we'll cover the sun and moon and some of the more local next couple of days stuff in a little bit. I think the most important thing that's been on my mind that I think it's really good to keep in mind is transiting Jupiter being in Capricorn. This energy has been popping up a lot in my life lately. The most important thing is to not lose faith, to not lose focus, to not lose that belief in yourself, in what you're doing, and what you're striving for, and what you're seeking to accomplish. This energy, it's such an interesting time that we're in because we have transiting Saturn and Jupiter both in Capricorn. So the capabilities for all of us, doesn't matter what our other energies it might be, to be able to focus and to buckle down and to get stuff done and to really make progress, practical, tangible progress, and to build not just like progress for the short term, but for the long term. So to build that foundation with that progress for more progress to occur in the future. The potential for that is so excellent right now. We have a beautiful opportunity really for the rest of 2020 to do this. And I know it can be distracting because of all the shit going on too, but I think that kind of is part of it. Is that, I mean, there's also a lot of shit going on in 2020. So there's that. It's not just a collective belief or a collective attitude or thing like that. Yeah, that's also part of it. Is stuff is going down, but I think it's important to not give in to the malaise, to not give in to the, oh my God, what next? Or, oh my God, I feel, on a more individual level, oh, but how can I accomplish this? It's this energy, both of these energies, Jupiter and Saturn, that we're all experiencing. They're both in that region of space known as Capricorn. Again, they're so incredibly impactful. They're so helpful in us being able to be effective and to get stuff done. And I think the most important thing to be able to access that, to actually put that potential, to realize that potential, to put that momentum, that potential momentum into motion, to get it done, basically, is to just believe that it's possible in the first place. Jupiter in Cap is one of those energies that's known to be a bit challenging. And again, there's no such thing as a good or a bad energy. They all have gifts and challenges. But Jupiter in Cap is one of those energies that leads with the challenge, and then when you overcome the challenge, you access the gift. The challenge for that energy is to say, well, what makes me so special? Again, the lack of faith, the lack of belief in the inner vision, very different from what we experienced last year with Jupiter and Sagittarius, which was abundance of faith, sometimes a little bit overabundance of faith, where it's like, I can do anything. It's like, yeah, we can, but also there's a practical component of it. We gotta make sure we're basing this in reality. We gotta do the work. We gotta prepare, all of these things. So now we're on the other side of the spectrum, not necessarily the farthest side of the spectrum, but still, whereas that might be a little bit more like Jupiter Virgo or Jupiter Gemini. Again, great energies in their own right, but that is one of their challenges, is that lack of faith and needing to see it. I always like to say this. When it comes to a challenge, Jupiter, it's essential to flip the script, flip the equation from I see it, so I believe it, to what Jupiter in Pisces, and especially in many ways Jupiter in Sagittarius and also Jupiter in Cancer, these energies that are known to be beneficial Jupiter energies. Again, they lead with the gift and then their challenge comes next. Or really any energy in between. So my energy, like for example, Jupiter Leo or Jupiter Aries, these energies that are known as neutral energies for Jupiter. All of these energies, and especially those, the Sagittarius, the Pisces, the Cancer, they believe, they believe it and then they see it. So they see it in their mind's eye. Oh yes, especially Jupiter and Sagittarius. Well, again, either Jupiter and Sag or Pisces. But I think there's something about Jupiter and Sagittarius that has the fire energy that it's like, yes, I believe in it right away. Whereas the Pisces is a little bit, it believes in it, but it's not quite as obvious or not quite as direct with it. I think especially since we just came from Jupiter and Sag, it's good to keep that in mind. And also because every transit builds on the transit that came before, that's what this year with Jupiter and Capricorn is all about, is building from that of, okay, last year we had a million doors open. but which ones are we actually going to go through? And that's what Jupiter in Cap is all about, is that process. But we can't lose that faith. Again, we want to make sure we're not being over optimistic like with the Jupiter and Sag transit, but we can't lose that sense of things are possible. You know, Jupiter in Cap tends to go, it's not possible. I've never done that before. When did we ever do anything of novel growth and moving forward that we did before? The first time that we talked, we hadn't talked before. You know, I mean, in this lifetime, I guess if you want to get esoteric, whatever, but whatever. In that case, we've done many great things in previous lifetimes if you're of that spiritual view, as I am. But even if you're not, if you're just looking at this lifetime, it's like, listen, this is all I got, this is all that I know, and that's cool too, to each their own. First time we talked, first time we walked, first time we got potty trained. I mean, we're going back to the very beginning here. Let alone the first time you maybe passed a big test, or first time you got a degree, or first time you got that job, or that you really wanted, or first time the relationship, whatever. Keep in mind your previous successes. That's really important, because it can't be overstated. 2020 is such an incredible opportunity for us. And in many ways, really the remainder of 2020. Not just because the previous part has already passed, but we had transiting Saturn go through Aquarius from March 21st until about July 2nd. And that has its own potential, and that's something to look forward to in future years. And I'm going to cover that a little bit more in another video, because I know that some people have been really wanting a take on COVID. And honestly, a huge part of that is these Jupiter and Saturn transits. So we'll get into that in another video in more depth. But I really just want to share that helpful insight and realization that's been helping me a lot this last week. Because I think that's something that's really cool, is if we have that realization of, no, this is a time where faith is challenged. This is Jupiter and Cap. A lot of people are going to not, unfortunately, make the most. It's not inevitable with awareness of what's going on, and inner awareness and practice and checking ourselves when negativity and excessive skepticism and cynicism gets into play. We're totally able to overcome these things, and we're good. But unfortunately, it's probable that most people probably still won't know about how incredibly helpful astrology can be, let alone this particular energy by the end of the year, which is unfortunate. But so hopefully, we don't need astrology to work through these waves. But again, it's so easier to figure out, what is this wave that's facing me, and how do I deal with it? How do I surf it exactly? And each one is different. So I think that's good to keep in mind, is to surf this wave. Just believe in what you're doing, in what makes sense to you, and what seems like worthwhile work, and you will succeed. You will find progress. You will be able to overcome obstacles. And if you're meant to succeed with it, you will. But, I don't mean meant as in, oh, are you worthy or not? It's not that. It's more like, are you going to do the work, and is it worthwhile work? If so, then yes, you'll succeed. Okay, quick microcosmic stuff. That's the main thing for today that I really want to focus on, because that's such a huge theme for the rest of the year, especially with Saturn being in Cap, and we got this Mars and Aries transit going on for the rest of the year as well. But for today and tomorrow, and the first part of what is today? Is today Tuesday? Today's barely Monday. Basically, for Tuesday and the first part of Wednesday, we got Moon in Scorpio. It's square the Sun in Leo. There's a lot of different ways to interpret this, but basically it's important that we check our emotions. We don't react, or we don't overreact. And I think a key part of this is with Mercury in Cancer. We're out of the retrograde shadow period, so that's great. I think a key thing here is to focus on where are our emotions coming from, going back into our past. That's what Mercury Cancer is really gifted with, and is what it's all about. If we're depressed, let's go into childhood and try and figure out the source of why we feel so down. Let's heal that. Let's really understand it. Let's live with it, and let's release it. Let's let it go. That's something that's really helpful, something that's really important. And this is a big time for instinct, for the Sun and fire and the Moon and water, to figure out who we are, what are we about, what are we doing, where are we going. And again, the more that we go inwards, the more we're going to be able to let that outer shine be brilliant, as it should be, and unique in the particular kind of, each one of us has our own particular shine. Infinite love to you, my friends. Namaste.